It's that time of the week. Yes, this week's Cult Movie Show, your weekly look at cult movies. Please welcome your hosts, Warren and Velvet.
Yes! It's getting longer every week. Welcome to podcast 36 of the Cult Movie Show with myself, Warren, and sitting beside me virtually in the virtual studio, as always, is the amazing Velvet. How are you today, Velvet?
I am having the worst case of the giggles. I just feel like laughing nonstop today, which I'll probably just end up doing this episode. Every week we have an interesting mix of movies, but this week it's just ridiculously different.
We have got some crazies, haven't we? We've definitely picked some crazies, but that's the fun of it. So it's going to be a fun show, I think. It is going to be a fun show. Now, before we start, I suppose we should apologise because we are running a day late. Now, of course, if you're listening to this on a Wednesday afternoon, then you have no idea what we're actually talking about. But we are, in fact, running about 24 hours late. We had some technical difficulties yesterday when we normally record, but problems are fixed, and we're back. We're back, baby. You can't keep us away. We're entering your lives. This is invasion of the body snatchers via podcast. You can't get rid of us now. So anyway, enough of nonsense. Enough of nonsense because we've got some.
Now we're just getting started with the nonsense.
We've got some nonsense films, and so should we just get straight into it? Do you think, Velvet?
Absolutely.
Okay, so we're going all around the world, actually, this podcast. Every movie is, in fact, from a different country, and I like it when we do that, actually. I think it's good.
Yeah.
Now, the first country and the first cab off the rank is an offering from Australia in 2003 called Fat Pizza. And it is basically stars, written, directed, produced, everything, by an Australian comedian and television and filmmaker called Paul Fennick. And it is basically the story of a pizza delivery, like a home delivery pizza joint called Fat Pizza in the western suburbs of Sydney. And it is about the adventures that they get up to. Now, the thing to remember is that this movie was taken from a TV show. So there was actually a TV show that, ran for, about 7-8 years, something like that, called Fat Pizza. And they then basically decided that they were going to turn this into a movie. Which they did. Now, Paul Fennick has gone on, he's made tons of these, shall we just say, totally un-PC style comedies. And the interesting thing about it is that he works pretty much directly for an Australian TV station here called the SBS, which is an Australian TV station, which is actually one of the most politically correct TV stations. But it loves this guy and keeps putting this stuff out, and it rates incredibly well. Now, as I said, it all is about a pizza delivery service, Fat Pizza, which is run by a gentleman called Bobo. Now, Bobo is very, very tight with money, pays his workers about $2 an hour, charges them to use toilet paper in the toilets of the pizza place. It's incredibly badly run. He's got a domineering mother who is very, very unhappy because Bobo has just ordered a mail order bride from Vietnam. And The problem is that Bobo is so cheap that she has to try to escape from Vietnam, do the run to Australia in a boat, and then try to get through immigration as an illegal immigrant and find her way to Sydney. So now, while all this is going on, of course, we follow the adventures, I suppose it would say, of the various pizza delivery boys. And also, simultaneously, there is another pizza delivery service run by some Indian Australians, which is called Fat Pizza, but that's PHAT, not FAT, and they are trying to steal the business away from the original Fat Pizza. Now, to really go into detail about what happens, there's no real plot or storyline to this other than Bobo getting married to his mail order bride, which runs all the way through the thing. But it's basically the story of the pizza delivery guys, and the two main characters are, of course, Sleek the elite, who wants to basically be who is a Lebanese rapper, and Paulie, who is a Maltese Australian. We'll just say that. He's not really, probably just well known for his very bad temper and his excessive use of violence on just about anybody. Velvet, what did you think of Fat Pizza?
Well, Warren, whenever I sit down to review a movie, I do no homework beforehand. And so if it's a movie I've never seen before, never heard of before, I go in completely blind. So part of my preparation is I always make sure it's going to be a time when I can watch the film undisturbed. So dogs have been fed and walked. I've had my snack. Maybe I'll have a soda and some chewing gum off to the side. And I always pull out my notebook to take notes. And, so I don't forget to talk about this stuff during the show. So within the first 5 minutes of this movie, I put that notebook away, I pulled out a bottle of champagne, and I opened a box of donuts.
Oh, brilliant!
and then I thought, what were you thinking, Warren? No, but I actually did enjoy this movie. This is purely for entertainment. This is, I'm not saying there's no artistic value, but it's definitely not a movie that you need to sit down and analyze and take notes to enjoy. You can definitely just sit back with a snack, possibly an alcoholic beverage, and just laugh. This is very Australian, so I'm sure there may have been a couple of pop culture references and jokes I, as a United States American, may have not got, but I still enjoyed this movie. It's an acquired taste, but if you just like silly shenanigans, this movie starts off with this dude having diarrhea and just doing the whole, I'm going to shit my pants if I don't get to the toilet. And,
yes.
I have, the sense of humor of a second grader, so I thought that was hilarious. And watching him get beat up by the people, or actually, no, he didn't. He beat up some people that were handicapped because, he used the handicap stall because, it was an emergency, of course. And they tried to revolt against him. And I was like, wow, this is totally non-PC. But I enjoy it. I think it's funny. A really funny thing about this movie is that it shows that Australians, or at least this guy, Paul Finney, has a great sense of humor, but definitely not afraid to poke fun at themselves at all. They did not take themselves seriously in this movie at all. And some of the things that people who are non-Australian, people like me, when we watch movies and we think of Australian culture, there's a lot of silly stereotypes that we think of. And quite a few of those pop up in this. I have to admit, I was surprised to see in this movie that they actually even spoofed "The Dingo Stole My Baby."
Yes.
I was like, wow, are they really doing that joke in this movie? Yes, they are. And they even made mention of the backpack serial killer. I was like, oh my God, they're even spoofing that?
Yes, Ivan Milat gets spoofed in this movie. Pretty much there's nothing for this guy which is taboo. He will
off limits, yeah.
He will take on everybody. And it's often been said, how the hell does this guy get away with what he does in a country like Australia, which has incredibly strict racial vilification laws? You are not allowed to get onto Australian television and condemn another race because they're another race. It's against the law. You go to jail for it, right? You actually get arrested and go to jail for it. And there have been a number of journalists who have actually been charged under this law and sent to jail. So the thing is, it's quite a serious law. You are not allowed to attack somebody based on race. But the thing is that, so how does he get away with it? And I think the reason why he gets away with it is he takes the piss out of everybody. Like, exactly. He never actually says one group is better than the other. He makes every group look stupid. He makes fun of the Vietnamese. He makes fun of the Chinese. He takes the piss out of the Arabs. He takes the piss out of, like the Mediterranean culture. He takes the piss out of white Australians. He takes the piss out of Aboriginals. He takes the piss out of everybody. And so nobody is safe. Nobody is safe. He
even takes the piss out of sexuality, because, I mean, he makes fun of the people that are having tons of sex. He makes fun of the people that are struggling to have sex, makes fun of people that have had very little sex, makes fun of people who are virgins. I mean, like, he makes fun of everything and everybody.
Oh, absolutely. And the other thing, too, which is quite interesting about his work, is that basically he will cast in many of the major roles people that he knows, people that he's worked with forever. So if you're not sort of a friend of him, you're not going to get cast in one of his movies. The other thing, too, is that pretty much every other role in this movie is a cameo. Now, this is one of the things that if you are not familiar with Australian TV, you're not going to get, but everybody in this, the health inspector, that's a cameo. Mm-hmm. The border guards, they're cameos. Okay. The magician, that's a cameo. His girlfriend, she's a cameo. Okay. Everybody in this the bikies. That's Angry Anderson, very famous heavy metal rocker from Australia. So all of these people are actually cameos, and I think if you are Australian, you will get that joke, and that's the joke which I think is lost on foreign audiences.
Exactly. I didn't catch the cameos. There was only one cameo I caught, and I was like, only because they made it very obvious. Like, he was trying to say he was a famous boxer. I guess.
Yes.
Trying to get into that club, and then the actual boxer showed up, and he was like, "Oh, so you're me, huh?" And then, of course, they kick his ass, and I was I got that joke.
Which is also, but the other joke in it as well is they share the same surname, because Paul Fennick is Paulie's real name, okay? Where of course the boxer is Jeff Fennick. So there's a double twist to it. There's an actual double twist to it. But also they get people to play ridiculous roles. I mean, for instance, the magician, who is meant to be David Copperfield, is basically a send-up of David Copperfield. But his girlfriend in this is called Claudia McPherson, which of course is a send-up of Elle Macpherson. The interesting thing, though, is that character is played by an Australian businesswoman and model called Annalise Breckensack. Now, she plays it so dumb in this. When she's advertising, she does the telecommercial in this, and she's advertising the Ab Stiffy. I mean, what a great name for a product, the Ab Stiffy. And anyway, and she can't count. Like, she gets to 3 and she forgets what the next number is and all the rest of it. But in real life, Annalise Breckensack she runs 3 different companies. She's worth a lot of money. She's university educated. She's she's actually a really, really intelligent woman, but she plays it so dumb,
I love that she did that. I love that. I love people who don't take themselves too seriously and do those kind of roles.
It's great, isn't it? And the other thing too is that you'll notice that Sleek the Elite, one of Paulie's friends, who of course is a closet bisexual but won't tell anybody, and he of course is using well, to use their term, the fat chicks, so he can sleep with their sexy thin girlfriends. But of course, one of the fat chicks, I don't know if you noticed this, was Rebel Wilson.
Rebel Wilson, yeah. I was like, that's supposed to be her first time in like a movie, isn't it? Like her big screen debut was in this movie.
She was in the original TV series, this is actually where she got her part of her start. So it's interesting. So watch out for this. Rebel Wilson is actually one of the girls in this, in this movie. But of course, they take off so many different things from Australian. The serial killer murders. There's the immigration detention camps. I don't know if you noticed that, where Paulie because he's because he's Maltese Australian. Right. He gets misinterpreted as an illegal immigrant and gets sent off to a detention centre.
And I love when he's like, but he's like, no, but listen to me. And they're like, no, with that accent, there's no way you're Australian.
I know.
What? He didn't even, and he has no accent, of course. And it's like, I thought it was also funny in this movie that they cuss a lot, but it's always censored. It always, like, every time they cuss, there's some kind of little, like, horn honking or some weird noise that they use to disguise the cuss words or the curse words. I thought that was funny.
Yeah, his earlier work, which this is what you would classify it as, all the swearing and like, for instance, there's no nudity in this. It's all people are just in their underwear.
There is one boob.
There's one boob. Sorry, one boob.
There's one boob.
But yes, when they get their piercings caught and have to go to the doctor. What was I saying? Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, that's all right.
There's one boob, and it's a pierced nipple.
But what you'll find in his earlier work like this, because remember this is from 2003, is that they say the words and then just bleep it while it's going on, or people are in their underwear rather than being naked. Now, in his latter work, like for instance the stuff he's producing now, they just openly swear, and the chicks get their tits out, and so he's sort of moved on quite a bit. I think he just wants to push it. Yes. But I'm glad you enjoyed it though.
Yeah, it was definitely, I was like, okay, yeah, this is definitely when I can just sit back and relax and laugh. I'm surprised how highly rated this film is on IMDb. If you go to imdb.com, over 3,000 ratings, possible high score of 10. It currently has a 6.0 out of 10, which is pretty good for this kind of movie.
Well, remember too, these things are made incredibly cheap. I mean, these are, there's no budgets to all of this sort of stuff. But the thing is, I think it bonds. I mean, there are certain people, I think, who will bond with this movie, even if you're not Australian. If you live in a city, and I'm talking more a city, not from a rural sort of background, but if you come from a very multicultural city, somewhere, maybe like New York or somewhere like that, modern day London, Paris, places that now have real multicultural sort of, populations where, half of the people who live there were not born in that country. And this movie will play with them. I think people from those places will like this because this movie plays with all of that. Every character in this movie is of a different ethnic background. Yeah. And just taking the piss out of their own culture so much.
Yeah, it's very ethnically diverse. I enjoy that too. And just some of the jokes in this that made me laugh. I'm going to ruin one of the end jokes, which I thought was really funny. It's actually in the credits they show the wedding and all the shenanigans going on, and immigration shows up to take all the illegal Vietnamese immigrants. And I'm like, oh my God, is this how they're actually going to end this movie? Are they actually going to deport these poor people? And immigration's like, immigration's here, but we take bribes.
That's right. And then they join the party. I know. They join the party.
That was my favorite joke of the whole movie. I just thought that was so funny. I was just like, oh my God. I really was like, wow, are they really going to deport these people in this movie? Is that how it's going to end? No, if you can just bribe them, everybody, it's a happy ending for all.
Well, the other thing too, which is, and it's at the end, I won't sort of, let's just say that the Indian pizza place, which he is trying one of the problems is one of the pizza carriers, I can say this, I don't think it's going to matter. Basically, he's a total drug fiend. Basically he'll do any sort of drug that there is. And he's meant to be the real working class, like ochre Australian, the white,
right.
Loves Ned Kelly, is all that sort of thing, right? And anyway, so he's like the dope fiend and this sort of thing. And anyway, he accidentally blows up the bikies drug lab, okay, because there's a bikie gang who was selling drugs, and he accidentally blows it up while he's delivering a pizza. Well, anyway, they try to hunt down where he works, and because there's this other pizza shop which is trying to steal their business, the bikies misidentify which pizza shop they're meant to go to and end up at the Indian pizza place. Now, the guy who runs that is a gentleman called Kamal. Now, that's the real name of the actor. Now, he's not an actor. He's actually a singer. And he's been working in Australia since the 1960s, basically. He's like, like a Frank Sinatra type singer, a crooner.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
He sings that sort of music. And he's very, very, very famous in Australia anyway, right? So anyway, but at the very end, you'll notice that when the bikies all turn up with their shotguns and all the rest of it, and he just looks at the camera and says, "Why are people so unkind?" Now, if you're not Australian, you won't get that joke because that's his catchphrase. Because in the late 1970s, he appeared on a television show called Hey Hey It's Saturday, and there was a soundbite of this "Why are people so unkind?" And it was just used and used and used, and he's sort of now quite famous for it, even though he only ever said it once. So it was a really nice little touch that a lot of people are not going to get. So
that unfortunately I didn't catch that. So I was like, well, that is actually a sad ending. They're going to blow his head off.
Yeah.
Now I get the connection. So
yeah.
Okay, he's okay too. No, very silly movie. I was just like, oh my God. Like, because you actually told me when you picked this one out, you're like, hey, are you in the mood for a WTF movie this week? And I'm like, oh, what the fuck movie? So I should have known to not even bother pulling out my pen and notebook.
No. I mean, this is basically, apart from, as we said, there's the story of following this mail order bride delivery.
I
know. But everything else is basically just they're almost individual skits which are just thrown in, sort of thrown in together.
Right.
But there are recurring ones that'll keep happening. Like, for instance, when Paulie beats up Ronald McDonald on the street, and then all the Ronald McDonalds will then come after him, and we'll have this huge.
That was so bizarre.
And then it turns into this huge brawl because, of course, then they find out that Sleep the Elite is sleeping with all the daughters of the Lebanese businessman, and it's and
the sex in this is ridiculous. It's so, I mean, it's obviously it's a movie, it's gonna be fake sex anyways, but it's like over the top fake, just like they're literally bouncing on each other with their clothes on.
I know.
It's just like that always made me laugh every time. There's like this one sex scene that goes for half an hour. Not like they make you watch it, but just like every time they show this girl's bouncing on this guy with all of her clothes on, and I'm just like...
Well, it's like whenever Sleep the Elite is in his car driving around, there's always a couple in the back seat having sex.
Exactly.
Like in every single
like,
scene.
Does he rent out that back seat? Is that what's going on? Like...
and there's another great joke, because in New South Wales, there used to be, which is a state in Australia, there used to be this thing that the police used to put up billboards that used to say, to let people, make them aware of what they were doing. So, and they were famous, they would say things like police currently targeting drunk drivers, or police currently targeting drug dealers, or something like this, right? So anyway, but one of the signs you'll see is they're driving along, and Habib, who's one of the friends, one of the pizza delivery guys. Now, he's actually a Lebanese Australian stand-up comic. That's actually what he's actually a stand-up comic. But anyways, they're driving along, and you see one of the signs, and it says, police now targeting Lebanese. And he goes, oh, that's a bit uncalled for. That's a little bit unfair, right? So so it goes on. But later in the movie, they're driving down the road, and you see the sign that says, police now targeting Habib. And he goes, oh, come on, man, come on. They're targeting me.
It's interesting how this movie was able to make this work, because remember when we reviewed Tom Green's film Freddy Got Fingered, and my main complaint was it seems like it's a bunch of his skits that they threw together in a movie, and I felt it just didn't work well. But in this movie, it does work well. It seems like they're just doing a bunch of different skits, but somehow it all just seems to gel. It just goes together.
It does, because they're like little short stories in a sense that all get thrown together. But then you might see one little story, but then 20 minutes later, that story will then link into a different story. And there's also ridiculous stuff. Like, for instance, which he used to do this on his television show all the time, where, for instance, he would come up with this concept of how one of his Maltese relatives made somebody else famous. And in this one, he does exactly the same thing, where he claims that his grandfather made Mahatma Gandhi the person that he was, because before he met the grandfather of Paulie, Mahatma Gandhi used to be a boxer. And after being knocked out in the ring by Paulie's grandfather, he turns to a life of peace and harmony.
Oh my goodness. This movie was nobody was safe in this movie. Everybody got poked fun at. Whether you were a pacifist or a fighter.
Yes. And there's also great little sort of, multicultural in-jokes. It's like when they go out for the Bucks party, and when they're walking down, I think they're actually in King's Cross, which is a very famous. There you go.
And for my Americans, that's a bachelor party. There we go. Go ahead.
Oh, what did I say?
Oh, you said Bucks party.
Oh, yes, yeah, a bachelor party.
On this side of the pond, we say bachelor party. Yeah, and people are like, what?
Yeah, and anyway, so they're walking down King's Cross in Sydney, which is a very famous street. That's where all the strip clubs are, and all that sort of thing. And anyway, so they're walking down there, and and they come out and they're all eating kebabs, which is the classic late night snack pretty much in Australia. Okay. Like you have too much to drink. What's the first thing you say? Let's get a kebab. It's drunk food late at night, and there's kebab stalls all over the country. You just drive down the road on a Saturday, at 2 a.m, and you will see a kebab stall just on the side of the road. But then the white Australian turns up and he's carrying a meat pie, and of course that's the old traditional late night snack before and it's a statement about how Australia has changed. Like Australia used to be white and British. Like, for instance, Australia used to be white, British. It used to drink cups of tea. It used to eat meat pies and fish and chips and all this sort of stuff, right? Where now Australia has totally changed because of immigration, and now the favourite late night snack is a kebab. We don't drink tea anymore. We drink coffee, and we don't just drink, shit coffee. We drink, espresso coffees that we spend $5-6 on. So the whole country has changed so much. So it's really interesting the way he even played all of that, into it. So
absolutely, yeah. There's a lot going on. It's a very silly movie, but like you said, there's a lot of social commentary done in a very fun way. But like you said, you're like, hey, look at this thing. Times have changed.
Well, I think it was actually Paul Fennick who actually, I think in an interview once, when he was talking to some reporter or whatever, and they started talking about, these celebrity chef shows, which are all over TV now, the celebrity chef. And he said that he thought it was actually time for somebody to do great drive-throughs of the world.
I like that.
So the thing is that he's very working class. I mean, he grew up in the western suburbs of Sydney, in a very working class, poorer sort of neighbourhood. And now, although he's obviously very wealthy and very successful, but everything he does pays homage back to his origins of growing up. So he plays with all these ideas of multiculturalism, of racism, of, all of these different things. And the only difference is that he just takes the piss out of it rather than making a statement about it.
Yeah.
And I think that's fantastic, because that's the way you stop all this shit, by taking the piss out of it,
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
definitely. Absolutely. Just another simple joke in this that made me laugh was Bobo, the owner / boss of the pizzeria, when it shows him answering the phone, and the woman that calls the pizzeria is just like, "I just got a question. What's on the Hawaiian pizza?" And he just hangs up on her.
I know.
He doesn't even care. He doesn't even answer. It's like, hey, that's a potential customer. He didn't care. It just made me laugh when he hung up on her.
But he's great because he always answers the phone as, "Hello, Fat Pizza. They're fat and they're cheesy." that's the way, And if he doesn't like a customer, he's got a chainsaw under the counter. He gets out his chainsaw and it's the other thing too I was going to say is that if you take our advice and watch this movie, you've got to start checking out some of his other work. He's got, apart from Fat Pizza, the TV show that became obviously this movie, he then went on to do a TV show called Swift and Shift Couriers, which is about the worst courier company in the history of courier companies. And it is absolutely hilarious. He just once again stereotypes everybody, takes the piss out of them. In this one, he even takes the piss out of the mentally challenged, and he just takes the piss out of that nobody is safe. Nobody is safe. He also, then after 2 seasons of that, he started a third show, which was called Howzos. Now, no one outside of Australia is going to know what a howzo is. And I was explaining it to you before, Velvet, and I was saying that think of a howzo as an inner city redneck. Somebody who is born to total poverty, who lives off government basic handouts, has their housing supplied by the government. They don't work. They've never had jobs. And they're also not necessarily very nice people. They basically spend most of their money on drugs or alcohol. These aren't the nice poor. These are the bad poor, if you know what I mean.
Right.
And so he takes the piss out of them, so much in this other show. But the interesting thing is, just recently he made a howzo movie, the same as with Fat Pizza. But everyone was saying, well, what happened to Fat Pizza? Paul, are we ever going to see Fat Pizza come back? So he did it. He made a movie called Fat Pizza versus Howzos. Which is absolutely fantastic. But of course, because he stars in every single thing he makes, he has to play multiple characters in the latest film because, of course, he's got 2 different characters. So it's very good. So check that stuff out as well. If you like Fat Pizza after this and you actually watch it, go and check out Swift and Shift Couriers and go and check out Howzos. You won't be disappointed. You really won't. You really won't. So have we got anything else to say?
I think that was it.
About this? No. So all right then. So if we're going to put this onto the Eric Roberts style, should we just rate this in pizzas?
Yeah, probably slices of pizza.
Slices of pizza. So
this is definitely, if you look at the DVD case for this movie, right on the DVD case, it shows Paul Fennick, the writer, actor, and director of Fat Pizza. And there's also in the background behind him, there's a blow-up doll with ginormous boobs. So, that tells you a lot about the quality of this film. Also right on the cover on the DVD case, it says, "Warning, this film may cause pregnancy and could get you into trouble with your girlfriend. Tight arse people." people with no sense of humor may be offended. Not politically, grammatically, or scientifically correct. So, with that with that kind of warning label and box cover, I mean, out of a possible 5 Eric Roberts, I'm going to give this 2.5 slices of pizza. You got to be in the mood to be laughing and just be silly for this movie, but it's definitely worth a watch. And bone up on your Australian culture so you can catch all the cameos and all the little in jokes of Australian culture that you might not get otherwise. So 2.5 slices from me.
2.5 slices out of 5. Well, I should just explain the blow-up doll too, because Paulie gets Habib to actually modify his car. And anyway, so Habib goes and fits airbags into the car. What he doesn't tell Paulie is he uses inflatable female sex dolls as the airbags in the car. So that's where all of that comes from. So look, I'm going to go higher. I mean, look, it's cheap, but shit is funny. It is. There's no story to this. This is just basically sitting back, taking the piss out of everybody, and you can sit back and you can laugh at every culture out there because every culture is being, there's one thing you can say is that don't feel bad about laughing at another culture in this movie because within 3 minutes, your personal culture is going to be attacked. So basically, everybody gets it. So I think it's pretty safe. So look, I'm actually going to give it 3.5. 3.5 slices out of 5. I love this guy. I think he's absolutely hilarious. So, and he's also wonderful too for giving people starts in the industry who probably never would have got starts. So that's the other thing too about this guy in real life. He has helped a huge amount of actors out. So, he's very good for doing that too. So
that's cool.
Yeah,
that's cool.
So he's actually a really nice, funny guy in real life. So, all right. I think that's it. So I think it's time. I think everyone knows what time it is. So, quick break, and we'll be right back.
It's time to get excited, short film fans. It's mini movie review time.
Yes, it is time to get excited because it is mini movie time. And what wonderful little offering have you found for us this week, Velvet?
Okay, so all of our movies this week are pretty silly. So I ended up picking a short that was a little bit more on the serious side. This is a horror short. It is called The Channel, and it's by the Bloody Riot YouTube channel. They also have a website called Bloody Riot, and this one's actually written, directed, and edited by P. Sebas. Forgive me if I'm saying your name wrong.
Okay.
So the story is rather simple, but I like the overall visual and the atmosphere they were able to create with this story. It's just a little under 9 minutes long, and a young man inherits a house, and he decides to go check it out. So just a random, obscure aunt left him a house, so he and his girlfriend go there, and he's, checking out the house. She goes into the bedroom, and with the plan of taking a nap. So it kind of starts off weird because he's like, let's explore. And she's like, I'm exhausted. I'm just going to go lay down. Then we can check out the house and have lots of sex. So she goes into this room, and you can tell it's an old house. The house has an old school television set, not a flat screen, people, old school television set. And she tries to turn it on, and she gets like nothing but snow. So, static and snow, but she sees something that's going to change her life forever.
Oh, yes.
So as always, it's a short film, so I can't reveal too much without giving away the story, and we want you to watch it and check it out. But what did you think of the overall film and editing style, the use of music and atmosphere? What do you think of this, Warren?
Oh, look, I thought it was actually really, really good. It's in many ways watching it. This is actually a 90-minute horror movie compressed down into 9 minutes. I mean, this story really could have been expanded out to 90 minutes, just by extending what happens and building the tension rather than it happening at minute 4, it could actually, sort of start to happen within minute 30. You get all the pre-story and stuff. So, no, I did like it. I think like a lot of these sorts of short movies, because it's so compressed, it all happens so quickly, you lose the tension. And I think that, is always an issue. But no, I really liked it. I mean, I liked the premise of it. This TV set, almost like this possessed TV set or something. I really, really quite liked it as a short film.
Yeah, I actually found it rather intriguing. As I said, the premise is actually quite simple. I almost feel like I've seen this type of story somewhere before, so maybe not the most original, but I did find it actually rather engaging. And like you said, now that I'm thinking about it, this is a story that could definitely be expanded, especially by traditional story, or I should say currently conventional storytelling techniques of mainstream cinema. I could definitely see them expounding this to around an hour and a half, just with all the stuff that we know about the characters. Like, it would have the whole build up of actually driving up to the house. It would show you the relationship between the boyfriend and the girlfriend. It would show you what's going on in their lives separately when they're not together. I mean, on and on and on and on. And then just the supernatural aspect of the movie, obviously, you could have its own mythos. So yeah, for a 9-minute short, there's actually a lot going on with a simple use of what is probably they just borrowed somebody's house to shoot this, I'm guessing. And they created a lot of story and atmosphere in under 10 minutes. That's pretty impressive.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's, you could have sort of taken this and had the 30 minutes of backstory of why, then them arriving, starting to settle into the house. Then you'd have the next 30 minutes of sort of spooky, unexplainable things starting to happen. They can't quite admit them to each other. They don't know what's happening. And then you'd have the last 30 minutes when all hell would break loose. So you'd have that sort of traditional horror breakup, if you like, which, if you think about it, is generally always in 3 parts. So you could easily do that. And I think that's the only problem for me is that there's no build up, there's no tension in this. That's the issue. And I think the problem is they're trying to deal with a story which is, it needs more time. This story, it's very hard to tell this story in 9 minutes and build up tension. And that's I think, the one thing it's missing. But I still really liked it. Don't get me wrong. I still really liked it.
I can see that. Visually, I enjoyed watching this actual just for the visuals, because it did have kind of that old house creepy atmosphere. They used some kind of interesting either color palette or filter on the lens that just gave it this really eerie and almost there's yellow tones throughout. Just it gave you the feeling the house was very old. You know how you walk into some houses and even if it's the windows are open and the sun is shining, they seem kind of dark and kind of grimy and just kind of old. This automatically had that feeling. And another thing it has in it that I'm starting to notice is popping up in a lot of films and short films that I like. We've noticed recently in a lot of movies I like, amputee and amputeeism and people getting amputated. It tends to be a theme in a lot of movies.
Oh, really?
So
Tell me. I
amputees.
Never noticed, Velvet. Never noticed.
There's no amputees in this movie, but something else that's popping up and stuff that I'm starting to notice I strangely like is glitches, use of static and snow and glitches when they use those kind of effects in films and short stories. I notice I oftentimes really like those. That really appeals to me for some reason, which in real life I absolutely hate white noise and I hate static and I hate that kind of visual flurry snow on televisions and screens and stuff. But in horror stories and short stories, I always find it keeps my attention because I'm always kind of oh, what's going on? I think because it breaks up the pattern. Instead of it being a steady flow, it gives you that just stuff coming out of left field, just oh, what's that? What's going on? So I like that use of they do the constant glitches in here to show that this, as you put it, possibly this possessed television or the supernatural aspect of the story is, kicking into action. Something's happening with that. So I like that. Yeah, what do you think of the overall visual effects?
I think they're good, and I've got to be really careful how I say this, is that some of these effects like snow, to me, they're also being used in the concept of who is in control. So you've got this idea that if it starts to get snowy, maybe the people aren't in control. If it's not snowy, the people are in control, sort of thing. So it's a little bit like, when we spoke about the movie with
I Know You're in There?
No, not this time.
Because there was also the use of glitches and like static in that.
There was, but it was more like, remember, with Roddy Piper.
They Live.
They Live, where the idea of, when they're wearing the glasses so they can see, I think I can say it now, see the aliens, right?
Yes.
It goes into black and white, but it's also, I think, that idea that, that if you're watching the movie in black and white, you're seeing the real world. If it's in colour, you're seeing the fake world. So the idea is, I think, a bit similar to that. When we've got snow, like I said before, maybe the people aren't actually in control. And I think it's a similar use to sort of show to the audience. Yeah.
That's a good theory, and I can totally see that. That's a good theory. I can totally see that. I didn't think of that until now. But I think it's actually a really impressive short. And like I said, we have so much silly stuff going on this week with this episode. I was like, okay, let's have one kind of serious thing in here because we got so much.
Because the rest ain't serious. You can't take it seriously.
I almost picked a comedy short, and I'm like, you know what? Let's have one serious time. Let's break it up a little bit.
Yes. But no, I really recommend this to people. Definitely hop onto YouTube and check it out.
Excellent. Okay, so you can actually go to youtube.com, and the channel is called Bloody Riot, and they have a whole slew of short films that they've produced, and you can also go to their website, bloodyriot.com, to check out their short films. So on the website, oftentimes they'll release different little episodes of the short, and on the YouTube channel, I believe you're able to watch the entire short in like one sitting. And this one is called The Channel. So go ahead and check it out and follow them on their social media and tell them Cult Movie Show sent you.
Cool. No, it's a good one. Definitely check it out. Definitely check it out. All right. Well, that was the serious bit. Now I've got a feeling there's going to be a little bit more lunacy to come. So we'll be right back. Well, what shall we say about this movie? Well, you'll find out very soon. We're moving to the United States now, and this is from 1958, and it's a B grader. So 1958 B grader, you know that we're talking about black and white. And it is called She-Demons, and it's fun. I think, don't know I'd say good. I'll say it's fun. It basically tells the story of a very wealthy sort of heiress who's off on a boat trip for whatever reason. We never really find out. And they get caught with all the people on the boat in terrible freak storms and get shipwrecked on an island. Which is a volcanic island where we don't know, but it's anyway on this island, and fairly soon they will find that they are not alone. There are other people on this island, and they are, of course, the she-demons. Yes. These sort of half women, half ferocious animal type creatures. But they will then soon find out that these she-demons are being created by Nazis. Yes. we've got the Nazis left over from the Second World War who are doing their biological experiments on these native women. And there is a reason why they're doing it. It's because the leader of the Nazis, some terrible scientist, his wife was injured in an experiment, and so he is now trying to create these she-demons so he can somehow transfer the beauty of these women somehow across to his wife to repair her destroyed features from this accident. Well, anyway, our heroes will be captured, escape, captured again, escape again, and get up to
and
captured again, and escape again,
and escape,
but will eventually, of course, take on the Nazis, and I think we all know what will happen in the end. What did you think of She-Demons?
I mean, I can't go right into this yet because we're just starting. But like towards the very end of this movie, that's when I just lost it. I had so many laugh out loud moments about this movie, and this is not a movie that's trying to be funny. I mean, at the time, this was supposed to be, I'm pretty sure, a rather serious horror movie for the time from 1958. So it's rather old. But first off, the title She-Demons is so misleading because you start watching this and you think it's going to be all these evil like she-demons, but a better title for this movie honestly would have been Escape from Nazi Island, because that just made more sense than She-Demon. So first off, the print I saw this movie, and I'm not sure what the current state of this film is on average, but the print I saw was quite bad. It's really old. There were just the editing, even there were parts where just like there were like jump cut edits while somebody was speaking, and that's probably just honestly either bad editing or a bad print. But it just, oh my god, this movie had the cheesiest dialogue. They had a shipmate, that was on that crashed on the island with them, and he kept saying all this stuff that they want to make it very clear to you that he's of Asian descent.
Yes.
He's saying stuff like, he's like, oh, great Confucius's eyes. And I'm like, what? Who says that? Oh, he's a couple of wontons short of a soup or some dumb shit like that. And I'm just like, seriously? So definitely very dated. In 1958, one of the things that makes me laugh is we have Jerry, played by Irish McCalla, and I'll let you talk about why you're excited about her. But this entire movie, okay, think about this, people. You're on a ship, you're heading to an island, you get shipwrecked. Are you going to have perfect hair and makeup the entire fucking movie? You are if your name is Irish McCalla.
Yes.
And you're in this movie.
Absolutely, you are. There is no doubt about that. In regards to the print, I should actually point out that there are pretty much two versions of this available. There's just a really poor version which is available. You'll often find it on those, you often see those DVDs which are like they're $10 and you get 50 movies, across 6 discs or something, right? So there is, and the quality of them, is absolutely appalling. So there is that version, but there is actually a fully cleaned up version, where the picture is actually really crisp. The sound is much better. So you can actually go out and buy the much better version. Okay. But of course, yes, Irish, our star, Irish McCalla, is of course very famous for another reason, which is very close to my heart. And she was, of course, the very first woman to play Sheena, Queen of the Jungle, in the original TV series. So, I sort of thought we've got to have one of her movies on the show at some stage,
Absolutely. So, she's very beautiful in this. Very beautiful in this. And I'm sure this was actually a rather fun role for her because, Sheena, Queen of the Jungle, cares about the animals, the environment. Like, she cares about things besides herself. Whereas in this role that she plays, Jerry Turner, who is totally selfish and delusional and spoiled, and all she cares about is that her clothes aren't wrinkled, and that she can have the luxuries of modern society as soon as possible when she gets off this damn island.
And we saw, and of course there are just some absolutely hilarious bits. I mean, like for instance, when our her two sort of friends, shipmates, when they're all captured, she, of course, almost in Bond style fashion, is taken off by the head Nazi, and she's dressed up in special clothes, and and made the sort of prisoner guest, where the men, of course, are sent off and they're put into a cage and they're beaten and all this sort of thing. But the cage, right, it's made of bamboo. I mean, it's like something from Gilligan's Island. I mean, I do not understand how they could, because there is one scene. How they can
just break out.
There is one scene where one of the guys one of the guards falls against the, this cage, and it falls apart when he falls on it, right? But these guys are trapped inside and can't escape, even though all you've got to do is lean on the thing and it's going to fall over.
Oh my goodness gracious. Yeah, no, the production value, I think for the time, is decent. It's definitely B movie grade even for that time. There was a little tiny bit of gore in this movie. The captain that gets shipwrecked with, everybody gets murdered, and they have a bunch of like spears sticking out. Well, not a bunch, like what, two or three spears sticking out of them. And I'm like, oh, that looks pretty gory for the time. And I have to admit, when you very first see your very first she-demon, she's dead. She's a dead corpse on the shore, and they roll her over, and she's got a face that looks like she looks like that emoji. If any of you who use smartphones, if you use emojis, there's that one little mask, the little red face that has the big buck-pointed teeth sticking out.
Yes,
that's what she looked like.
Yes, they do.
Exactly what you look like.
They do. And what basically happens is that these women are like these island women who are kidnapped by the Nazis and taken to this island to do these experiments on. So what happens is when they do the experiment, it turns these women into these she-demons. It lasts for about, what's it meant to be, 2 or 3 days, and then they return back to normal. But the price of this is that they lose all their memories. Now, one thing that could be said...
I don't think that's true. I think they made that shit up later in the movie.
They may well have.
Because there's a scene in the movie where all the fucking, like, island girls escape. These are our she-demons. All of our island girls escape. They're all beautiful women, and... Okay, here's why I say I think they made this shit up about the memory later in the movie, because if you had been captured on an island and then, like, you managed to escape your captors, would you remember your dance routine? Because then all the little island girls get together and they do, like, a 5-minute dance routine.
I know, and it's like all these women do. They don't try to escape, or they don't try to do anything like that. What they do when they're not having experiments done on them, they do dance routines around the campfire. And not only that, so badly done, they're all out of sync with each other. They're not even in sync. So where they got these dances from, I have no idea. They clearly weren't, a number of them weren't professional dancers.
I don't think so.
No. It's another thing too about this movie is it could honestly simply be called a really cheap knockoff of The Island of Dr. Moreau. There are so many similarities in this movie to The Island of Dr. Moreau. I mean, you've got The Island of Dr. Moreau.
When they first get there, because the people that crash land on this island, they're like, oh, well, this is actually the island we were looking for. How lucky. We crash landed on the island we were actually meant to be sailing to. And the reason we're here is we're looking for animal people on the island. And I'm like, what? Animal people?
Yeah. It's so all over the place. The script really is just so all over the place. And the other thing too is this continual or capture, escape, attack. Like, these Nazis are the worst prison guards in the history of anything. I mean, the ease of which they escape and then get recaptured and then escape. Oh, it's just, really?
Yeah, this is one of those movies, I think it just kept making it up as it went. Because when you very first start the movie, it hits you with a lot of info. Oh, we crash landed. Oh, but look, we crash landed on the island we meant to go to. Oh, and the reason we were even coming here in the first place is we're looking for animal women. Once we find them, we're going to be famous. And, oh, look, there's Nazis on this island. Oh, look, the Nazis actually kidnapped these girls from another island and they're experimenting on them. Oh, look, the she-demons are actually girls that have been deformed by these experiments. Oh, look, the Nazi scientist is actually trying to cure his deformed wife. Oh, look, if we do it to the most beautiful woman on the planet, Irish McCallie, she's going to lose her memory. Oh, I just kept making shit up.
It really does seem like that, doesn't it? It's a little bit like, okay, this is day 2. Where are we going to take the story now? And someone simply wrote the day's script. They filmed it, and then day 3, they sort of said, all right, where are we going to go now? Okay, we'll write this down and we'll do this, you know.
And they're going to bomb the island. Yeah, they managed to make a one-way radio. They managed to make it 2-way, and they overhear, I guess, the United States Air Force, whoever happens to be in the area, and they're like, oh, we're going to bomb this island tomorrow. And I'm like, wait, I would be way more upset if I was, marooned on this island that they're getting ready to bomb, and everybody's just kind of like, oh, well, that sucks. Oh, well.
Yeah. And it's also, it's like, the other thing too is that, like, they've found the cleanest form of energy that could run the planet forever without pollution. They're harnessing the heat of volcanoes to generate power, right? Now, you would think that this idea would be worth billions upon billions. It's the biggest clean energy and all the rest of it. What do? They blow it all up. You know?
Okay, now we're talking about that. Here's where I started, like, literally laughing out loud. This is when I just couldn't hold it in any longer. I'm like, okay, I'm trying to take this movie seriously, but I can't do it anymore. It was when they fucking started bombing the island. Right when they start bombing the island, the volcano explodes, and then they start, like, fighting and escaping, and it literally reminded me of Kung Fury when he said, I got struck by lightning and bitten by a cobra.
Yes.
It sent me into this parallel dimension to learn Kung Fu. And I'm just like, what? Wait.
It's
right when the bomb said, oh, the volcano has erupted. I'm like, what?
And the other thing too is in their very last escape where they're running out through the tunnels and they've got the Nazis are chasing them, and the Nazis have all got rifles. You know, like Americans call them long guns, I think, right? So they've all got rifles.
No, we actually say rifles.
Rifles. So anyway, they're shooting at them, right? And of course, can't hit shit. You know, as we all know from movies. We all know from movies, Nazis can never hit shit when they're shooting, right? But they, with this tiny little pistol, are able to shoot all the Nazis without any problems, you know, whatsoever.
Gracious. Okay, I honestly was confused about the whole, the Nazi doctor has his wife that he loves, but she's been deformed by some kind of, science lab accident. So the entire movie, his wife's running around with her head bandaged, and she has, like, eye holes and a mouth hole, so you can see her eyes sometimes through the eye holes, right?
Yeah.
So then all of a sudden, well, before I even get to that, okay, so first off, the fucking Nazi doctor is doing these experiments on the island girls to try to, repair scar tissue. That I get, but I don't understand his method of doing it at all.
No,
all he does is deform them and make them ugly, and then later he claims that it makes them lose their memory of who they once were. And I'm like, how does that repair scar tissue?
And by making them ugly, how does he transfer that to make his wife beautiful again? It's like
which he never does.
No, there's no explanation whatsoever of how he magically transfers this beauty energy or something or other, which it comes here's the other thing. They come up with this weird scientific explanation, which is just absolute pseudoscience at its best, about how they transfer beauty from one person to the other. It's just,
oh my God.
It's just unbelievable.
And I died again when, okay, so like, you know, the Nazi doctor, of course, he has to get killed because he's a bad guy in this movie. But his wife, you know, is helping, you know, the other people to escape the island. And they're like, you're not coming with us? And she's like, no, I can't go with you. I've got to stay here. Besides, would you go back to society if you look like this? And it's like she rips open her bandages and she has no eyes.
I know.
Like, wait, how are you running around the island helping people if you have no eyes?
Yeah, I know. If you don't know eyes, how are you navigating through the jungle? And then they say that he you know, the mad scientist destroyed all the mirrors so she couldn't see herself, but she doesn't have fucking eyes.
Yeah, like the last like 10, 15 minutes of the movies, I was just like laughing nonstop. I'm like, what? Wait, what? It just, yeah, it was just, this movie's a mess. It was ridiculous. But the Nazi stereotype was so fucking strong in this that made me fucking laugh too. Like anything you think of when you think of Nazis, they did in this movies. I mean, just the way they were dressed, the way they talked, the way they held themselves, their beliefs, it was just... I was just like, wow, this is fresh from World War II. You know what I mean? It was just...
Well, and the other thing, too, is, you know, he tries to get, you know, Irish McCalla to become his new wife, right?
Yes.
And his real wife is witnessing all of this, but then she decides to stay with him, you know? It's like... I
know.
You know,
I was like, wow. I was like, you know what? She had no self-esteem because she had no eyes.
It's just, yeah.
And I don't mean to be politically incorrect. I'm not laughing at anybody being blind or anything than that. But this was just so ridiculous in this movie. If you've seen this, it was just like, okay, none of this movie makes any sense. It's just...
No, and the other
ridiculous.
And the other thing too is that when they escape at the end, like there's this little boat. I'm going to say it. Who cares? I'll give it away. There's this little boat, right? The wife of the mad scientist tells them there's this tiny little boat that they can escape from this island on. So they're heading out into the middle of the Atlantic Ocean or something or other with no food, no water, three of them on this tiny little rowboat. I mean, they're probably going to die at sea anyway. You know, and then the American Air Force is bombing this island and the volcano is erupting.
You know, exactly.
And they don't give a shit about trying to help these poor fucking Polynesian women or whatever. Well,
I actually just fucking forgot about them.
Yeah,
I forgot about them.
Well, obviously it can't be the Atlantic. It must be the Pacific. Then I'm assuming. I don't know. But they've got, you know, these poor fucking Polynesian women who were trapped on the island. They're all going to be burnt to death. They don't give a shit about them.
Oh my god!
You know, they're too busy.
Those dance skills, you know. I mean, what a loss to humanity. Those dance skills, you know. Like,
well, they were probably too busy to help because they were too busy having their dance festival around the campfire. You know?
Oh my goodness gracious! Yeah, there was definitely some eye candy in this movie. Like I said, Irish McCalla, who plays the main female lead in this movie, is very beautiful. And then like they have all the dancing island girls wearing, you know, their jungle bikinis that looks or island bikinis. It looks very cute, and you know, you get to see the dancing. There's a scene where, you know, like the first night on the island, Jerry, you know, Irish McCalla, is going to go sleep, I guess, in a cave, and she actually gets fully naked. Like, you don't see anything, but they make it very clear that she's going to sleep naked. And I'm like, why on earth would you sleep on a fucking island that they're getting ready to bomb naked?
Well, who knows? Maybe some of that. Maybe she thought she was still in a Sheena TV series. I don't know. I mean, who knows? You almost expect her to come out, you know, sort of running down to the beach, you know, with a monkey in her hand, sort of saying, "Oh, we have problem."
Oh my goodness gracious!
Sheena here to help.
Oh, we did actually get to see a snake in this movie. It wasn't a real snake, though, was it? No, that was a fake snake, right?
No, I think it's a real snake, actually. But
was it a real snake? Yeah, we didn't see a lot of animals on this island.
No, none. I think is pretty much the way we would describe it.
There was a snake.
There was a snake,
and
it was
not have been real.
And that was honestly about it. Or apart from the she demons, you know, the other. but like we said, it is such a knockoff of the Island of Dr. Moreau. I mean, you've got these.
The Island of Dr. Moreau is actually a good story.
Well, it's an amazing story, and this is a very cheap rip-off of it, you know. So
this is one of those movies that this is literally so bad it's good, because I was really entertained by how awful it was.
Oh yes, this is pure B grade cinema.
Yeah,
absolute B grade cinema, and look, I love them. I love these types of of films.
No, I did have fun with this one.
So, this really was fun, and it's look, if you've I mean, look, I'm going to watch anything that Irish is in anyway, right? Because as far as I'm concerned, it's like pretty much if there's a movie that has Irish McCullough, if there's a movie that has Tanya Roberts, or if there's a movie that has, Jean and Lee Nolan in it, the three women who have played Sheena, I'm going to watch it. I don't care what it is. I am going to watch it. Because as far as I'm concerned, they're Sheena. So I am going to watch anything that they do. So this was, of course, for me, a must watch.
No, this was really fun. I'm glad we did watch this, but it's a mess. It's if you like B movies, if you need a laugh, if you want to see pretty women, I mean, which you always do in movies, it's just fun. This was really fun.
Oh, it was. It was most definitely. So, all right, if we're going to rate She Demons, how many Sheenas are we going to give it?
Well, I don't want to rate it by Sheena's. I only want to rate by Sheena's if I'm going to give it a high score. And I'm going to give this, not a very high score. So I'm going to stick to Eric Roberts for this. And that's not saying that Eric Roberts isn't wonderful.
No, of course not.
We named our scale after Eric Roberts because we love him so much, and he is the king of B movies. But so on a scale of 5 possible Eric Roberts, I'm going to give this 2.5 Erics.
Well, I think that's probably about what it's worth. No. I think it's actually probably worth less. It depends. See, I think it depends how you judge this. If you're going to judge this as a great piece of filmmaking, it's worth about half an Eric, because it's so bad. It's so bad. But the thing is that if you love B movies, then you're going to have to check this one out if you haven't seen it. So, and it stars Irish McCullough, the original Sheena, obviously the original Sheena is a cartoon but the original Sheena from our screen. So I'm going to give it 4.
All right. Okay.
I'm going to give it 4 because
classic B movie.
Yeah, because as far as those late night B movies are, this one ticks pretty much all of those old 1950s boxes, and it's got Irish in it. So yeah, I'm going to give it 4.
Right on.
But to anyone that doesn't have a love of B movies and who has no idea who fucking Sheena Queen of the Jungle is, you're probably going to give this about 0.5.
What raised my score was when it said, right when they bombed the island, and the volcano erupted.
I know. And they didn't do. And what was it from Pacific Banana? That dance, the dance of.
Oh my God! I forgot what it's called. Yeah, that's kind of what it was like.
Which makes the volcano erupt. Is it? I wonder if there was somebody on the island doing that. Well, maybe
they were doing.
Maybe that's what the girls were trying to do in this movie. Maybe they were
trying
the
volcano erupt.
Yeah, by doing their dancing. Maybe. I've forgotten what that dance was called now. Oh my God!
I forgot it too. But
maybe that's what they were doing, and maybe it wasn't the bombing. Maybe it was actually the girls on the island that made the volcano erupt. Who knows?
If you have not heard our review of Pacific Banana, this is an Australia Ozploitation film that I actually liked. I actually rated this quite highly when we did it. You can check out episode 33 and hear our full review of Pacific Banana, or as we Americans say, banana.
Yes,
and
Pacific
check it out.
Banana. Because he wants to go up, but it only goes
But
down,
it goes down.
He's got
You got a lazy banana.
a very lazy
That's
Pacific Banana. God, I don't know why I remember that song. Good God.
It was a catchy tune. See? Yeah, it was a catchy tune. I enjoyed it. It was a fun. We're not reviewing that again, but
No.
But
if you want
33, if you want to hear the song that's stuck in our brains now.
So yes, if you want to understand why we're joking about the volcano erupting and women dancing at the same time, it will make more sense. It will make more sense.
But please be 18 years or older if you view that film. We don't want to get in trouble with your mommy and daddy for making you watch dirty movies.
Yeah, so. or if you're Australian, about 12 is acceptable. We clearly have different standards between our two countries, Velvet. This movie gets shown in the middle of the day. I mean,
oh my God! Wow!
Oh God!
Rotten kids, man.
What do they say about it? What do they say about Australians? There's only 3 things important to Australia, or is it 4 things? I don't remember. It's meant to be drinking, swearing, sport, and having sex. Nothing else matters to an Australian. It's only those 4 things.
That sounds like a fun place to live.
Oh dear, it tends to be said more by foreigners than by Australians. But anyway,
that's the way it usually goes.
Well, I think that's why. The
grass is always greener on the other side.
Yeah, well, Australian tourists do tend to have a reputation of being extremely heavy drinkers and swearing every 5 minutes in countries where they're not allowed to.
Did you hear about that? Was it last year? Last year, 50 Cent, the rapper, he went to the Bahamas, I believe the Bahamas, and they have a law there that you can't cuss in public. And, he's a rapper, so like 99% of his lyrics are cuss words. And he went on stage and performed, and they actually arrested him. He actually spent a couple hours in jail. Yeah, he actually spent a couple hours in jail until his manager or agent, whatever, got him bailed out, and he did a public apology. Oh, I'm sorry that I was cussing on stage. But I was like, well, he's probably never going to perform in that country again, because they're like, oh, we would love to have 50 Cent back. Apology accepted. But I can already see he's probably like, fuck that.
Daddy, I'm not going back there. You're not going to bleep me on stage.
I couldn't believe that. I was like, wow, that's crazy. But yeah.
Every country has got its quirk. Every country's got its quirk.
Isn't that the truth?
That's what makes the world so interesting.
And also know the laws of the countries you visit. That's also what it boils down to. Just be respectful of the place you're in.
And the amount of tourists, quite seriously, the amount of tourists that go to countries that know nothing about the fucking laws they go to of the country, laws of the countries they go to, blows my mind.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
Do some research before you hop on the airplane, for God's sake.
Especially nowadays, like, research and information is so readily and easily available that there's no excuse now.
I've heard stories of people actually going on holidays to countries and they don't even know what language they speak until they arrive.
Oh, my God. Wow. That's very ill-advised. I wouldn't recommend traveling like that at all.
No, it's just unbelievable, some people. I think it's the excess of, we're so wealthy now, like as Westerners anyway, that we can travel without, before the Second World War, you had to be wealthy to travel.
Right.
Anyone can travel now. It's so cheap.
Yeah.
And so you're getting so many people now who travel that just, I think they're not traveling to explore, they're traveling just for a holiday, and so they're, why are we talking about this? I don't know.
I don't know.
maybe they'll end up being trapped on an island full of she-demons and Nazis.
Oh, and you so make sure you got your dance steps down so you can make the volcano erupt for your getaway.
True,
that's pretty much what happened.
And blindfold the musicians because that's essential. I couldn't
again. You guys have to see Pacific Banana to get our jokes.
I couldn't work that out. The music doesn't affect them, right? But they've got to wear blindfolds. Oh god. Anyway.
Oh my goodness, you're making me want to watch that movie again. I'm gonna have to see that this week.
Oh dear. All right, we'll just take a quick break, and we'll be back with movie number 3. And this one surprised me, I have to admit, because
me too.
Yeah.
Me too. Yeah.
We'll be right back. Now, movie number 3 is from, well, I can't believe I'm saying this, North Korea. Not South Korea, but from North Korea. And I have to admit, this is the one and only North Korean film I have ever seen. So this is going to be an interesting one. Now, it's from 1985, and it is called... oh, God, I'm going to get this wrong again, aren't I? Is it Pulgasari?
That's what I say. I say Pulgasari, but it's also sometimes pronounced with a B, Bulgasari. So Pulgasari
Yes.
or Bulgasari.
Now, because my understanding, if we've got any South Korean, because I know we're not obviously going to have any North Korean listeners, but if we've got, well, I think we're illegal in North Korea, so
Yeah, I think so.
but South Korea, and I know that we have had some South Korean listeners before, so I know that for a fact. So if any of you are still actually listening, I shouldn't say it like that, should I? Please correct us. But I believe that Koreans pronounce P as a B. So they would actually say it as Bulgasari, not Pulgasari. Yeah, so I just believe, because I know that if you go to South Korea, they don't call the city of Busan, they call it Busan. So that's, yeah. I used to have a South Korean friend a number of years ago who was sort of like an exchange student. University, doing her university in Australia. And, so I learned a couple of things, not very much though. I think she was more interested in going to nightclubs, drinking champagne and picking up men, than she really was in explaining Korean culture to anybody. But anyway, that's another story. So yes, it's from 1985. And, oh, now, how do we explain this? I'll give the brief rundown, because this movie is actually a story within a story. It's one of these movies that uses a story to actually kind of tell a different story. So, mind you probably can't do anything in North Korea without it being political in some ways. So, I think that's the reason why. Now, it basically is obviously set in Korea. But in real old world Korea, Korea 1,000 years ago, sort of thing.
Like feudal Korea.
Feudal Korea. Now, okay, feudal Korea actually existed really pretty much up until the 1930s. But we're actually talking about, like this is probably set in the year 1000 or, like 1,000 years ago, something like that. When in Europe there are knights of the round table and all this sort of stuff, right? So it's that sort of time. Now, the local mayor, so this is sort of like a sheriff of Nottingham sort of character, I suppose, if you like, is being very bad to the peasants, because he needs to create weapons for the army. So he's stealing all of their iron to get it made into metal. Now, there's groups of bandits who are... So here we've got the Robin Hood characters. It's amazing how similar this story is, actually. But, of course, in Korean terms, they're sort of almost meant to be the communist resistance sort of thing. And they're living, in the mountains and so forth. And they're the children of, obviously, the people the farmers who work in his village. Now, they're treated so badly, by basically the local mayor and so forth, that they all get captured. Cut a long story short, they get captured and taken away. Now, one of the fathers, he believes in this old ancient myth of this creature, which eats iron, and he actually blames the disappearance of iron on this creature, the Pulgasari, yes. And anyway, so he will end up dying in prison. But before he does, he creates an image of this monster out of rice. Now, quite interesting because when they've actually got this little thing, idol, it honestly looks to me like it's been made out of plastic. But anyway, it's meant to have been...
toy.
It
looks like a little toy.
Yeah. Anyway, it's meant to have been made out of rice somehow or other. And anyway, but then after he dies, the daughter... gets this idol, takes it back home, and as she's sewing, she pricks her finger on the needle, and it drops blood, human blood, onto this creature, and of course, it brings the creature to life. And this creature goes around eating basically iron, anything metal it eats, and it grows and grows and grows and grows. And anyway, in the end, what basically happens is that she controls this creature, which has got the spirit of her father basically inhabiting in it, and she controls it because it's her blood that brought it to life. And they all run off into the hills and they join the resistance. And then this creature joins the resistance movement to try to overthrow the evil king and the mayor, and of course, the warriors, the bad soldiers who are working for the king. And we have basically this civil war that will go on. And of course, in the end, we all, of course, know what's going to happen. The supposed good guys are going to win. But then we've got a bit of a twist at the end, because then we get really fucking political, and it starts to talk about it's a little bit like, be very careful what you create because it might come back to bite you in the ass. And so it's which I think I'll get to all what I think this is all meant to mean a little bit later. So that's the basic concept of our movie. But of course, what most of this movie is about is this giant monster walking around, going into battle, to fight for the
peasants, the poor people, the everyday people.
Have I explained this at all, or am I just...
I think it's pretty good. I think that's pretty good. I have to admit, I chose this film because first off, I was excited to find it. And I also chose it because I thought it would be funny. And this was a lot better than I thought it would be. The production value and the actual story and special effects of this movie are way better than I thought it would be. And we don't want to go too much into this, but you definitely want to know a little bit about the backstory of this movie. This film was directed by a man that was actually kidnapped by Kim Jong-il, the tyrant of North Korea, and forced to make movies. But I mean, the whole story behind that's fascinating. So there's a lot of interpretations about this film, also just based on the circumstances of how it was made. What's also impressive about this film is they actually got the cooperation of Toho. Yes, Japan, Godzilla, Toho, to help make this movie. And they actually made the Pulgasari suit, the monster suit. And they even have Ken Shapiro Satsuma, better known as the actor in the Godzilla suit, in the Pulgasari
Yes.
movie. So it's very high production for what it is. You know, this is a communist, you know, forced to make this movie. And it's amazing that they got fucking Japan and Toho and the Godzilla suit actor in on this movie. It's really bizarre, the whole circumstances surrounding it. But all that aside, the actual movie itself, I thought I was going to be laughing my ass off. A lot of people call this movie the North Korean Godzilla knockoff movie. I think it's actually a lot more than that, though. I really actually enjoyed this. I was really surprised by the production value and the actual story that it tells.
Oh, there are a lot of similarities, obviously, to Godzilla in the sense that the Japanese idea of Godzilla is, of course, about radioactive pollution, which is all, of course, something which lives in the Japanese psyche or memory because of the Second World War, because of obviously the dropping of 2 atomic bombs on Japan. And so it's written into their culture. This movie is very similar in the sense that it uses a monster in the same way as the Japanese do, but the monster is more a political animal in this rather than an environmental one. That's the way I sort of saw it. I mean, I don't know what you thought about that.
Yeah, like, I looked at it two ways. Okay, so this movie is made in 1985. Now, if the director, Song Uk-shin, the one that was kidnapped by Kim Jong-il, if he had blatantly said, oh, this is a monster that destroys a tyrant, he would have been killed. But he still managed to pull it off, because that is pretty much what he does in this movie. But it was interpretation, because Kim Jong-il saw himself as the monster. Look, I'm the savior of my people. Everybody loves me. Whereas,
that's right.
Obviously the director looked at it as we see it now here on the Western side of civilization. You and I are both saying it's obvious that Pulgasari was there to smash the tyrannical leader.
Yes. It is interesting when you look at it. Yes, the evil king, is of course then going to meet his end, if you like. And you can sort of say, oh, well, that's the North Korean Communist Party. And then the people take over and reclaim their country. But that's not the way this film's actually what it's meant to be about. The Communist Party is in fact meant to be the monster. It's not meant to be the king. And so the whole idea is meant to be that the peasants create the monster. So in other words, the peasants create the Communist Party, and the Communist Party takes them down the track of conquering all the evil, corrupt, like Western values. But then there's still an issue at the end and this is where it gets really, really weird, is that, but then power corrupts. So you've got this idea that this monster that they've created, now that it's taken out all the evil people, the problem is it's now going to turn on the peasants themselves. And so how do they deal with that? And this is the thing about this movie that I find so weird, is it's a state-run film by a communist dictatorship, but yet it's got these ideas of freedom within it. It's really weird.
Yeah, it's baffling, but you know what? That's also brainwashing, because I don't want to turn this whole episode into a political discussion, but let's just say brainwashing and leave it at that.
Yeah, leave it at that. Yeah,
you know what I mean? This whole film, the whole premise behind how the film was made is it's mind blowing. I'm like obsessed with this now, but this is not the format of the show for that exactly. But I do want to talk more about the actual Pulgasari. First off, when he was like the tiny Pulgasari before he grows into the giant monster, okay, how cute was the mini Pulgasari? So cute.
Oh, yeah.
So cute. That is what Son of Godzilla Minya should have looked like when he was he was a baby. That's what Son of Godzilla should have looked like, was this mini little Pulgasari. It was so cute. But actually the suit was quite impressive, and you could definitely tell that was like Japanese technology behind that they, the same people who made the Godzilla suits made this Pulgasari suit. And even like the face, they did an amazing job of it. Was very expressive. Like it was actually able to move its eyes, back and forth, look around. The eyebrows were able to move around to convey emotion. I thought that was really impressive for this type of movie.
Oh, without doubt, the suit is amazing, and of course, because of who's in it, of course, all the movements are fantastic. Because you've got the man that did. Because what he actually was inside that suit, I think, what was it, from 1984 to 1995, just over 10 years. So he did a number of Godzilla movies. And then, of course, because you've got all these Japanese from Toho basically working there, making this film, that's why it's so similar in its style, and they get it because they've had years and years of, experimentation to get this right. Where, of course, the North Koreans by themselves, it would have been a very first go. So they literally got a product that looked like they've been making them for years, even though this was the first, from what I could gather. That's incredibly impressive. But what I did want to talk about is the funny shit in it, though. It's like they fire. I
actually have a note in here that I wrote. I wrote unintentionally funny with a question mark, like, because there were some parts I was laughing too.
Well, it's like they try to kill it by shooting metal at it, like cannonballs, right? The thing eats iron, right? So this is like throwing falafel balls at the thing, It's like throwing food at it, All you're doing is feeding it. And I love the way too that when they've got these explosive cannonballs and they fire it and they're trying to get it inside its mouth so it'll blow up, inside it. But it's just, for this creature, it's just like eating a red hot chili. It goes in, and he does those facial expressions of like, and then he just burps, It's like,
like he spits it back out. I love that. Oh my goodness. Yeah, no, there was definitely some funny stuff in here that I think was supposed to be unintentionally funny. I don't think there was supposed to be like really any comic relief in this movie, but it's funny by today's standards. It's quite dated, obviously. It's from 1985. It was made in a communist country that is closed off everybody from the rest of society. That's why it's amazing that they even were able to get Japan on board to actually help make this movie, to make it as good as it is for where it was made, how it was made, under the conditions it was made. We have to point out one thing, though. Not that I'm giving kudos to Kim Jong-il, but he bankrolled the fuck out of this movie. Like, they spared no expense. Like, the director, Song Uk-shin, did not have to worry about a budget. So it wasn't like, oh, well, we can't do this because that'll cost too much money. Anything he wanted, they did in this movie. And for the time, it really does show, all the way down to the design of the suit. The sets are very elaborate. The costumes, the color palette in this movie are really quite eye-catching, actually. They do a very good job of making it very clear who's the peasant, who the important characters are, because they're dressed a little more brightly, who are the government officials, who the soldiers are. I mean, like, really well-designed costumes. And there's like, I don't know, hundreds of extras. I mean, there's a lot.
There's a lot.
And
I would say thousands, not hundreds. There's a lot. When they do the big battle scenes between the peasant army and the government sort of forces, it's they're big battle scenes, actually. Yes. They're actually pretty big.
Yes. The only thing they went cheap on is the fucking music in this movie is terrible. The soundtrack is absolutely awful. The sound effects are terrible in this movie. Like, when it very first opens, I was kind of like, oh, this is actually kind of a pretty song. Like, when it very first opens, but then the rest of the movie, the music's terrible. And then at the very end, they kind of do like the opening song again. And I'm like, well, this is actually pretty, but the rest of the songs and the sound effects in this movie, terrible. Well, so annoying.
The amazing thing too about this film is that when I very first heard about it, I thought it was a South Korean film, and
I did
too. And when I watched it, I'm sitting there going, 1985. This doesn't really make sense. They're coming up with some ideas that don't really sound very South Korean to me. You know, it's like, where are they going with this? This is kind of really interesting. And then it's suddenly, your doors on you. Oh, it's North Korea. Right.
Right. I mean, this was the only movie to ever be released outside of North Korea, from what I've heard. Like, I could be wrong. It may be different now. Maybe there's other movies that you can get access to thanks to the internet and bootlegging and all that great stuff that we have. But at the time, this was the first movie to be actually released outside of North Korea. But even then, it was like 10 years before they actually released it outside of North Korea. And I believe it was released in Japan. So it took a long time to come over to, the Western countries.
Yeah, it's look. I mean, I'd still say to anyone, if you like Godzilla movies, you should watch this.
Yes.
And as we said, although in Godzilla movies, the background story or the whole concept of the movies is meant to be environmental. In this case, it's more political. It's the class, the class struggle and all this sort of stuff. But it's still good. It's still got a message. You may not agree with the message. Well, so what? It's a movie. It doesn't matter. You don't always...
Honestly, if you didn't know any of the background on this movie, you wouldn't even really see it that much as a political movie. You would just see it as, kind of like some Godzilla films. Godzilla is the savior of mankind. You would see this just as Pulgasari is the savior of this village. If you don't know any of the backstory, if you don't know what country it's made in, if you don't know under the conditions it was made, if you don't know that people were kidnapped and forced to work on this movie, you would just see it as another monster movie. And so, I mean, it's definitely worth watching.
Oh, I definitely agree with that. I definitely agree with that. But the other thing too is that, there's often this bit of an idea that, like going back before the fall of the Iron Curtain, before the communist countries basically embraced capitalism, if you like. Although there's still a few holdouts, obviously, like China and North Korea and so forth. But mainly in Europe and to some degree, Central America and places like that. There's this almost this idea or ideology that people have out there quite often, which is that anything that came from those countries at that time was bad. And I don't mean like evil, like evil.
Right.
I just mean it was bad quality. It was just shit. It was cheap.
That's what I automatically assumed. I'm like, this is a communist film. It's going to be terrible. This is going to be hilarious. It's actually good.
No, that's exactly right. And it's like, there are lots of also sci-fi films, for argument's sake, that were made in the old Soviet Union and also in countries like East Germany, the old East Germany, and Poland when it used to be communist. You'd hardly believe Poland used to be communist, would you? But
I know.
When I was a kid, it was. It's kind of amazing.
I know.
But the thing is that if you look at a lot of those sci-fi movies, they're really good. They actually stand up, and they also don't. The message that they often tried to push is actually world unity. Actually, more than anything else. They just hide the fact that what they wanted was world unity under communism, but that's another point. But the thing is that there's still good sci-fi movies. They hold up. There's a number of them. I mean, I would like to actually do some on this show, some of those old Eastern European sci-fi films, because a lot of them are actually really good. And I think there's this idea that, it came from the old Soviet bloc, so it's shit. Their cars were shit. That they didn't have enough food. The shops never had, everything about the world there was shit. Well, no, it wasn't. There were a lot of good things about what they used to have. And if you watch some of these old movies, you get to see that, Doesn't mean they want to live like that anymore, but it's a bit of history. It's great.
Yeah, when a lot of people refer to this movie as a Godzilla knockoff, I don't agree with that. I honestly don't. I mean, yeah, it has a big monster in it. It has kaiju, if you want to use that term. But I really find this story rather unique to, compared to the Godzilla ones. Because, I mean, for the most part, most Godzilla movies, people don't control Godzilla. Of course, there's a couple where they kind of do.
Yeah.
But for the most part, Godzilla's kind of his own monster. But also what I like about this one is the actual setting is, feudal Korea. This is, very long time ago Korea. This is not modern day, Korea. This is not supposed to be out in the big city, skyscrapers and fast cars. This is, people don't have electricity. People don't have running water. People don't have a sewage system. I mean, this is not modern society. And I thought that was interesting how people's values are obviously very different when you don't have that kind of upbringing. So, I mean, in this movie, it's interesting that there's a lot of, in this movie, there was a huge value on iron was like the status, having, iron farm tools, having an iron pots and pans, using iron to make weapons, for the government. I mean, that was really interesting. Even Pulgasari sees iron as a form of currency. In his case, it's nourishment. He has to eat iron to survive and grow. So, I mean, that was just, this is a whole different concept from most monster movies I found.
Well, the other thing, too, is that even the daughter, who's our main character, well, there'd be two, I suppose. There's her and her brother. They probably sort of share the role. But
right.
There's the idea where she's talking, to the monster at the end, and she's sort of saying that, once you've eaten all the iron, there'll be no iron left. And then you'll go and invade other countries and you'll try to steal or eat all their iron. And then the whole world will be at war. And it's like, okay, yeah. And this is what I said at the start, where this movie towards the end you can forget all the politics, and just watch it as a movie. But towards the very end, this movie, it's a little bit like, all right, you've had the movie. Now we'd like a party political statement from the Communist Party of North Korea. So it's
I did actually like that, though. Again, if you just remove the whole actual, straight up political, background and aspect, and obviously the agenda that they're pushing in this movie, if you just remove all that and just watch it as a movie, it's just a great, it's a great mini speech on world peace, and also making sacrifices for the greater good. I mean, that's a great message too to see in filmmaking. The pacing on this movie is excellent. The pacing's very good. There's not a moment where I was like, oh my God, will this hurry up? Oh, this is getting boring. Oh, when are they going to show the monster? The pacing's very good. I have to admit, this movie does no slow reveal of the monster, because right in the title screen, when they're playing all the music and doing all the, the beginning credits of the movie, they show a still, picture of Pulgasari, of the monster, so you get to see what he looks like right away. There's no reveal, but it doesn't ruin the movie. It's still fun to. It's still fun to watch.
It's going to turn into a monster, film, but it still does take quite a while for the monster to actually enter the movie. It must be said. But I love the way too we get to see him grow up. All the way from this tiny little thing.
Physically grow up.
Yes, I'm saying, yes. Not emotionally,
physically grow up.
No, he's not going off to university and studying, studying literature or something. Physically grow up. And it's, so that's kind of cool. But it is interesting too, like you mentioned before, about the fact that you can talk to this it understands English. Well, I'll rephrase that.
Or I guess
Korean. Should I say Korean? Sorry, my bad. My bad. God, Jesus, Warren. God's sake. It understands Korean, which is...
we had the pleasure. I think this movie probably only exists in... or actually, no, that's not true. This movie exists in the copy you and I saw. We saw it in the Korean language with English subtitles, but I believe it's also been dubbed in Japanese with English subtitles. But I think that's the only two ways that you can watch this movie, so be prepared to do some reading.
Yes, there's no actual,
At least
no
in English.
no English dub to our knowledge. Yes, so unless you speak Korean, or unless you find the Japanese version and you speak Japanese, you are going to be reading. Yes, that's
English subtitles,
English
and
subtitles.
they're burned in. From what I saw, they're burned in. It's not a case of turn them on, turn them off. They're burned in.
Oh yeah,
so
you got no choice.
For a movie that, there's fighting, there's people using weapons against each other, there's Pulgasari, killing people. There's very little blood in this movie, which is sometimes
That's very
kind of
true.
funny, I
Yeah,
have to admit.
yeah.
It's sometimes kind of funny when you see them kill somebody with a sword and there's no blood, and they just. Oh, and there's one scene where I laughed out loud because somebody got hit with a sword, but they did wire fu, and they jumped up in a circle and then they landed on their back.
Yes.
Okay, went a little wild with the wires on that one, but no, for the most part, the actual effects in this movie are pretty good for the time.
They're not bad. The sound effects though are fascinating.
Oh God!
When the sound of the swords just hitting each
terrible.
other sound more like a lightsaber from Star Wars than they. I know, it's like boing boing boing. Oh.
Yeah, those were pretty bad. That's
So
what was making me
I
laugh.
don't know what they were thinking with that, but
I don't either. From what I can tell, because it's always hard to tell sometimes if you don't speak the language. But from what I could tell, it looked like the acting was actually pretty decent in this movie.
It looked pretty good. To me, sometimes it looked a little bit like it was being overacted. Also, the use of makeup on the men was interesting. But then again, I must admit, I've seen a lot of Hong Kong and Chinese films which are set at the same sort of period, this sort of feudal, what we'll just call feudal Asia, whether it be Korea or whether it be Japan,
right.
whether it be China, and I'm not trying to lump them all together. I know they're different countries, cultures, all the rest of it. But of that style of filmmaking is that there is a huge use of male makeup in movies which are set 1,000 years ago or 500 years ago or something. It seems to be something which not only obviously in this Korean film, but also you will see a lot of in Chinese cinema. I don't know what it's
the standard,
about.
I guess the beauty standard of the time. I don't know, but yeah, I noticed our male lead was wearing a lot of eyeliner, and I was
yes.
I got used to it by the end of the movie, but I have to admit in the beginning I'm like, oh damn, it looked almost like a silent movie actor, like their music or their makeup if it was in color, if the movie were in color, but it wasn't that bad. But it was, I noticed it too. I was like,
I've often
guys are wearing some makeup in this movie.
I've often wondered if it's tradition, and I don't know. I'm just, what do you guys say? Spitballing, I think it's a term you use. Is that maybe it's a tradition from theatre, which is
it might be. Might be.
Which is sort of moved its way across into movies. I mean, what's fascinating about it is that if you watch, now we're outside of Korea now, I'm talking about China. If you watch Chinese films, for instance, which are set 1,000 years ago, even stuff being made today, right now, the men are heavily with all this eyeliner and makeup and stuff. But if you watch a Chinese movie set in 2016, for argument's sake, they're just normal.
Right.
I
don't know if that was just the fashion of the time and they're trying to be historically accurate. I really don't know. I don't know enough about it. I don't know if that's what it is.
Yeah, look, Chinese listeners and Korean listeners, okay, maybe not mainland China because once again I think we're banned there. But we're definitely not banned in Macau and Hong Kong. I know that you can listen to us there.
There we go.
So if you're from there or if you're from South Korea, let us know. Tweet us, send us an email. Let us know because we'd be interested to find out. And as we said, this podcast, we ain't experts. we just have fun reviewing movies that we love. We're not experts by any means.
No, definitely not. I have to admit, though, once again, I just can't say it enough. People that say, "Oh, Pulgasari is North Korean ripoff of Godzilla. Give this movie a try, because even the ending of the movie, like where most Godzilla movies would end, like, okay, Godzilla defeated the enemy, he's going to go back into the ocean until the next movie, or come out of a mountain, or wake up in a cave, like whatever he's doing. In this one, where the movie would normally end, if it were a Godzilla movie, it keeps going, and it shows you the after effects of him hanging around, like, yeah, I did my job, now what? He doesn't go back into the ocean because he didn't come from the ocean to begin with. And it's really interesting to see how that affects the people, how they deal with that, the sacrifice that's made to cure this problem. I really enjoyed this story, actually. I mean, taking all the politics out, taking away the fact that it was made under duress,
Yes.
but the actual overall story, and I really enjoyed this. I was surprised. I thought I was going to be laughing my ass off, like, oh, this is so bad, and I was just like, wow, this is really good.
Oh yeah, I so agree with you. The idea that you think the movie is about to end, but it doesn't. It keeps going for about another 10 minutes or more. Yeah, after you actually think, oh, that's the end of the film. It's quite interesting and very, as you said, very different to the Japanese product in that regard. But then again, that's what makes it interesting.
Absolutely.
That definitely is what makes it interesting. So,
I think we've said.
Sorry, go on.
I was going to say, I think we've said all we can say about this one without, short of giving you a scene by scene rundown of the movie.
I think so. So look, definitely, I liked it. I really did.
Too.
So, all right. So on our, I was going to say, was it? No, don't have part. On our Eric Roberts scale.
Okay, on our Eric Roberts scale, so of a possible 5 Eric Roberts, this movie, it's definitely an underrated cult classic. A lot of people don't give this film a chance, first off, because they don't know about it, which is typical for a cult film. There's this small group of people that know about it and tell you it's wonderful. Also, simply because a lot of people think, oh, it was made in a communist country, so I'm not going to waste my time. A lot of people think, oh, it's a Godzilla knockoff. This movie has so many things that put it in the cult category, but honestly, totally worth checking out. I really enjoyed this. Out of a possible 5 Eric Roberts, I'm actually going to give this 5 Erics.
Wow. Okay.
I'm actually going to give this 5 Erics, because this is something I can see myself rewatching, and just the overall story. I love the visuals. I really enjoyed this movie.
Okay. I see, for me, I'm always going to judge this on the Japanese product, even though, as we've said,
though Toho helped make it,
even though Toho helped make it, I mean, as we said, it is not a Godzilla knockoff by any means.
No,
but the problem is that I think a lot of people maybe who think the same way as I do, they're going to judge it based on the Japanese products, but. And because of that, I think where its issue sort of does come to a degree is, although it's 1985, and I think this has a lot to do with the North Korean side of it, is that it looks more like a 1970s Godzilla film rather than what they were producing in Japan in the mid-80s. So, you've got, when you look at it visually, it's still very impressive, but it does, the only thing that looks 1980s in my mind about it is the monster itself, the actual suit, right? But the storyline itself, the way it's shot, looks more like a 1970s Godzilla. That's just my opinion. I'm not saying it's right. That's just my opinion. So I don't know. I liked it. I don't know. I'm going to give it 3.5. 3.5 Aries. I did like it. I definitely did like it. But I must admit, I prefer the Japanese products.
Well, I mean, this is the only one of North Korea. Yes. There are no other. There is no Pulgasari versus the space monster. I mean, this is it.
Yes. So, but it's still good. I still liked it. I definitely still liked it. It's one that I recommend to everyone who likes these sorts of movies. If you haven't seen it, you do need to see it.
Yeah, if you like kaiju films, you definitely want to see this.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Definitely.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. I can't believe that we actually rated a North Korean film so highly.
Yeah, I'm surprised too. I thought it was going to be like a 1, if even that. I had no idea. I would be like, "Wow, I love this. This is so good."
I was about to say,
I was entertained.
Maybe I should have given it 5 because I'll have to be careful walking around the airport now, won't I?
I think you'll be okay.
Sorry, some listeners will get that joke, some won't. Anyway. All right, so. Well, that's a bit of a wrap, actually. There have been some interesting ones this week.
Oh, goodness. Yeah, this was a crazy week. This was a crazy episode.
All
right.
We might choose some slightly different stuff for next week.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so you guys can follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Cult Movie Show. You can also tweet us and private message us if you have any requests for movies that you want to see us review. If you have a short film that you'd like us to review, go ahead and either tweet us or private message us on Twitter. You can also email us your requests, or if you want to send us your films or short films for review, you can email us cultmovieshow@gmail.com. You can follow me, Velvet Rose, on my Instagram and Twitter at OMG It's Velvet. Please be 18 years or older, since I do post adult content. You can follow my co-host Martini Super Dry on Twitter, so Martini Super Dry. And you can also listen to the show on iTunes as well as YouTube, Cult Movie Show. And what else am I forgetting, Warren?
I think that's about it. As always, we like to thank Alana Evans for letting us use her music. You can follow her. I think it's Alana Evans XXX, I think.
That's right.
On Twitter. And always like to give a bit of a shout out to the guys at OFTU Podcast.
Only funny to us.
Yes.
They are funny.
They
by the way. It says only funny to us, but every time I listen to their podcast, I'm laughing too. So it's obviously I'm included in the us. And you will be too if you listen to it.
Yes. I think was it 2 weeks ago, I think they did a show where they actually went down the movie path. They actually went down movies that should never have been remade. Which was interesting to hear their thoughts on that. I agreed on some of them. I disagreed on others because I think
and some of them they're just being silly.
I think so.
They were talking about remaking some pieces of shit that should have never been made in the first place.
I think they also misinterpreted the idea sometimes of remake and franchise. I think they confuse those two words a little bit sometimes. But it was really funny though. It was really funny to listen to. So most definitely. All right, I think that's a wrap. So we'll be back next week for podcast 37. We should be running on time next week, not 24 hours late like we are obviously this week. So once again, apologies to that for people who were sort of saying to themselves, where's the show? Well, anyway, it's here now.
Oops.
So
it's here now.
It's here now. That's it.
That's it. Until next episode, you guys stay safe and keep watching movies.
Absolutely. We'll talk next week.